Jai Mahamaya ki jai. Vishveshvari Mata ki jai. Bole Baba ki jai. In our last discourse, we heard about Indra, the king of the gods, who had to pay the price of his karma for killing a Brahmin by suffering a great deal and having been deposed even from his Indraship, or the kingship of the gods. And in place of him was Nahusa, who also made a very big mistake and had a great downfall and actually had to go to earth for some time. So we're going to go on from there. Chapter 10. The king said, "O Veda Vyasa, you have described in detail the wonderful character of Indra, his displacement from the heavens, and his suffering many hardships, and at the same time, you have described very widely the greatness of the highest goddess of the world. But one doubt has arisen in my mind that Indra was very powerful, and when he got the lordship over the Devas, which means, in other words, that no trouble would pain him, how was it that he had to feel pain and agony? He got the lordship of the Devas and his highest position by performing 100 huge sacrifices. How was it then that he was again displaced from that position? O ocean of mercy, kindly explain to me the cause of all these. You know everything. You are the best of the Munis, the maker of the Puranas. I am your devoted disciple, therefore nothing there can be that cannot be mentioned to me. So, highly fortunate one, kindly remove my doubts." Thus asked by the king, Veda Vyasa, the son of Satyavati, spoke gladly in due order the following words. Veda Vyasa said, "O king, hear then the causes that are certainly very wonderful. The seers say that karma is of three kinds: Sanchita, accumulated; Vartamana, present; and Prabha, commenced. Each of these is again subdivided into three: Sattvic, Rajasic, and Tamasic. The accumulated effects of karmas done in many past lives is called the Sanchita. The effects of the Sanchita karma, be it auspicious or inauspicious, be it for a very long or for a short time, must have to be enjoyed by the beings, whether they are good or bad. This karma done by the embodied beings in several previous lives can never be totally exhausted, even in 100 kalpas, without their being enjoyed. The karma that is being done by a jiva and that has not as yet been completed, that is called Vartamana karma. The jivas do this karma, auspicious or inauspicious, in their present embodiments. At the time of birth, a part of the Sanchita karma the soul takes up for fructification. This part of the Sanchita karma is called the Prabha karma. This exhausts only when its effects have been fully borne out by the embodied soul. The beings cannot but bear the effects of this karma. O king, know this for certain, that the effects of merits or demerits done previously must be borne by anybody, be he a deva or a man or an asura or a yaksha or a gandharva. The acts done previously go to form the new births of all beings. When the karma gets exhausted, then no more births need to take place. There is no doubt in this. Brahma, Vishnu, Rudra, Indra, and the other devas, the Danavas, the Yakshas, Gandharvas, all are under the control of this karma, O king. Were it not so, how could they get bodies that are the cause of the enjoyments of pains and pleasures of all beings? Therefore, O king, out of the Sanchita karmas done in many previous births, some karmas get ripe in due time and they manifest themselves. Those manifested Sanchita karmas are called Prabha karmas. those that are being enjoyed by an individual in the present life, impelled by this karma. The devas and the human beings all do meritorious acts as well as sinful acts. Thus Indra, out of his past meritorious acts, attained his Indraship, and out of his past sinful acts committed the sin of killing a Brahmin, and so he was dislodged from his Indraship. What doubt can exist here? O king, so Nara and Narayana, the sons of Dharma, had to take birth out of their previous karmas. Again, Arjuna and Krishna were born out of the karmic effects as part incarnations of this Nara and Narayana. The Munis describe this karma as the basis of the Puranas. Know that he is born of a deva who is very wealthy and prosperous. He who is not born of the part of a Muni never writes any spiritual treatises or gains any knowledge. He who is not born of Shiva never worships Shiva. He who is not born of Deva never distributes rice in charity. He who is not born of Sri Vishnu never becomes the king and lord of the earth. O king, the embodied souls derive their bodies certainly from Indra, Agni, Yama, Vishnu, and Kubera. Indra presides over lordship. Agni presides over energy. Yama presides over anger, and Vishnu presides over strength. He who is powerful, fortunate, enjoying many enjoyments, learned, charitable, is said to be born of a Devamsa. Similarly, the Pandavas and Vasudeva, who was as glorious as Narayana, were born of Devamsas also. Know this as quite certain, that the bodies of the jivas are the receptacles of pains and pleasures, and the embodied souls, the jivas, experience alternately pleasure and pain. No jiva is independent. He is always under the great fate. He experiences birth, death, pleasure, and pain, not out of his self-will, but compelled and guided, as it were, by the unseen fate. How very strong is that fate can easily be judged by the following. The Pandavas were born in the forest. Then they went to their own houses. They performed the great sacrifice, Rajasu sacrifice, by virtue of their own strength. After this, they had to suffer their exile in the forest, a much greater and more terrible hardship indeed. Next, Arjuna performed a very hard asceticism when the devas, not self-controlled, became pleased and granted him an auspicious boon. Still, he could not extricate himself from the hands of the terrible hardships. Nowhere could be found the fruits of the merits acquired in the past, when he was afterwards remaining in the exile in his human body in the forest. The severe tapasya that he did in his past incarnations as Nara, the son of Dharma, did not bear any fruit in Arjuna's birth. Mysterious and inexplicable are means of karma, with which the bodies of the several beings are concerned. How could men get an idea of it when the devas themselves are at loss to solve it? Bhagavan Vasudeva, Krishna, had to take his birth in the prison, a very critical and dangerous place. He was then carried by Vasudeva to the milkman Nanda's abode at Gokula. He remained there 11 years and thence came back to Mathura, where he killed by force Kamsa, the son of Urgansena. Then he released his sorrowful father and mother from the bonds of the prison and made Urgasena the king of Mathura. Afterwards, he went to Dwarka city out of the fear of Kala Yavana, the king of the Melchis. Thus Sri Krishna performed many great and heroic deeds, being impelled by fate. Then he left his mortal coil at Prabhasa, a place of pilgrimage, along with his relatives and acquaintances, and then ascended to his Vaikuntha abode. All the Yadavas, sons, grandsons, friends, brothers, sisters, and ladies of the house all died under the curse of Brahman. O king, I have thus described to you the inexplicable ways of karma. What more shall I say than the fact that Vasudeva was killed by the arrows of a hunter? Here ends the 10th chapter, the 6th book, on the phase of karma in the Mahapurana Srimad Devi Bhagavatam of 18,000 verses by Maharishi Veda Vyasa. Jai Mahamaya ki jai, Veshveshvari Mata ki jai, Bole Baba ki jai.